Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome JCC Association Honorary Board Chair, Jerome Makowski.
Good morning. It's an honor and a privilege for me to present this very special award to a good friend who has served on our board of directors for 60 years. Mort Mandel's guidance and leadership have helped build the JCC Association into the organization it is today. And his passion for giving has benefited not just our organization, but many others throughout the world. Described by management guru Peter Drucker as one of three impressive CEOs, along with Jack Welch, a one-time head of General Electric, and former Intel CEO Andy Grove, Mort has made his mark in both the business and nonprofit world. A self-made billionaire, his focus on excellence is legendary. His book, It's All About Who, focuses on how personal values really do matter in business. Honesty, decency, respect, and generosity are some of those values and have been at the center of what Mort brings to our organization. As a past board chair and chair of many committees over the decades, as an officer, thought leader, philanthropist, and mentor, he is a legend to our agency and to the JCC movement. It is a wonderful honor to recognize him for his 60 years of leadership, inspiration, and dedication to the JCC Association. Mort is unable to be with us today, so we welcome his son, Tom Mandel, to accept this on his father's behalf. Tom, please join me on the stage. The JCC Association of America, excuse me, I will get the, JCC Association of North America, Keter Torah, the crown of a good name. From the Ethics of the Fathers, Rabbi Shimon says, there are three crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. But the crown of a good name is superior to them all. On the occasion of his 60th anniversary as a member of the JCC Association Board of Directors, we hereby proclaim Mort L. Mandel, recipient of the JCCs of North America, Keter Torah, Crown of a Good Name Award, in recognition of his extraordinary vision and generosity in support of JCC Association of North America and the Jewish Community Center movement. The Zohar says, "Great is the merit of the philanthropist, for he awakens the good in the Jewish community." We thank Mort for all he does and for his 60 years of service to our board and to the JCC movement. I'll put it back down. You're on, got it?
Just a few short remarks. 10 years ago, at another biennial, this group thought that it would be appropriate to honor my dad for his 50 years of service to the JCC movement. I remember watching him receive the award, and I remember how proud he was to be recognized by this group. He told me later that that recognition from the JCC community meant more to him than any other recognition that he has ever received from any other group. And I thought that was really impressive because, you know, the JCC is his first love. And the movement remains his highest philanthropic priority. I know that if he were here today, he would say again how much it means to him to be praised and recognized by this group. And on behalf of my dad, thank you so much for thinking of him and recognizing his 60 years of service to this organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, thank you very much for accepting this recognition on behalf of Mort. I now call upon Ann Kaufman, Honorary Board Chairman, for another.
The Morton L. Mandel Jewish Education Leadership Award is presented to an individual or an institution that has made a significant contribution to the Jewish Community Centers movement in North America that will enhance the Jewish education in JCCs. The 2014 honoree is Jody Hirsch. Jody, will you join me up here? You've got a big fan out there, lots of fans.
Yeah, I've been around.
I know you have. Jody is currently the Judaic Education Director at the Harry and Rose Sampson Family JCC in Milwaukee. He's also served in that capacity in Houston and in Hong Kong, as well as teaching Jewish studies at the University of California, the Hebrew Union, and others. His creative programs and wonderful welcoming to all who come to learn is legend. He is a teacher's teacher. The Jewish Community Center movement is blessed to call him our own. Jody, it's with great pleasure to present you with the Morton Mandel Jewish Education Leadership Award for your outstanding efforts and success and all that you've done to make Jewish learning a joy to so many of us. Yasher Koach.
Thank you.
Here's this beautiful plaque.
Oh, thank you.
It just has the award on it for him.
Wow, great. Thank you.
Congratulations. You want me to put it over there?
Yeah. Okay, so wait a second. I have to post this on Facebook. Okay. So, among the really many very surprising stories in the Talmud is the following. Rabbi Abba stated in the name of Shmuel, for 3 years there was a dispute. I'm sure this doesn't surprise anybody, okay? For 3 years there was a dispute between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, the house of Shammai and the house of Hillel. This is from 2,000 years ago. The former asserting the law is in agreement with our views, and the latter contending the law is in accordance with our views. Then a bat kol, a heavenly voice, called out, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. These and those are the words of the living God. Now, there's more to the story, which you can ask me about later, but I'm not going to talk about the other part. I'm going to talk about this part, because this is the essential thing about our tradition. Our laws, our traditions, our understanding of life, our values, our identity, our methods of transmitting knowledge, everything that we do is open to a whole spectrum of interpretations and understandings. There are many ways. The rabbi said, Shiv'im panim laTorah, there are 70 faces to the Torah. Everything in the Torah, whether it's a story, whether it's a pasuk, whether it's a law, whether it's a word, everything can be understood in 70 different ways. And that's our Jewish tradition. It's the wide spectrum of ways we understand our lives and our places as Jews in the world. And that is exactly why working as a Jewish educator in the field of Jewish community centers is totally the perfect place for me, because I have spent my whole career, emphasizing pluralism and diversity, and it's the JCCs where this diversity and pluralism of Jewish life is played out on a daily basis. We are really the center of the Jewish community. The members of our community are religious and secular and even anti-religious. We are Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, Reconstructionist, Renewal, Post-denominational, and as famously pointed out by the Pew Study, Jews of no religion. There are members of our community who aren't Jewish. They're kind of fellow travelers. And yet, our mission is to enrich their lives in the hundreds of ways that we regularly meet them. So I'm really grateful to the Jewish Community Center Association for giving me this award. You know, Jewish really is the first part of JCC, and it's so great that not only that I won this award, which I'm very happy about, obviously, but you know, that there is such an award that talks about Jewish educational leadership, because we really can take the forefront of Jewish education in the Jewish world, especially in North America, you know. And also, I must say that I am very honored to be given this award, which is in the name of Mort Mandel, because his path and my path have intersected in so many different ways over the years that I was on the board of CAGE. I'm going to mention a lot of abbreviations here, and so if you don't know what they are, you can ask me afterwards. But I was in the board of CAGE when we brought Mort to our big Jewish education conferences. I was a Jerusalem Fellow. These are all projects that he endorsed. I was part of the advisory committee for COMG2. Some of you may remember that. That was quite a long time ago, you know. And I was also part of the JCCA JEDI program. Ask me later what JEDI stands for. So, you know, and those were all projects encouraged and by Mort Mandel's vision. And so I'm very honored to have this particular award that's in his name. And I'm also grateful to the many people I've worked with over the years. The communities of Houston, Hong Kong, and Milwaukee, that's where I've worked in your JCCs, and that's what I've been doing in the last 20 some odd years. And I have learned from all of you, and I've been incredibly enriched by you also. And your mission is my mission. So together we've enriched Jewish life. We've elevated Jewish knowledge. We've strengthened Jewish identity. We've advanced Jewish values. We've advocated for Israel. And we've fortified the Jewish community. And we're certainly not done. There's a lot of work to do. We have done it, and we're going to continue to do it in so many different ways. Classes, the arts, Torah study, events, film festivals, the ambiance of our JCCs, theater, reenactments, the Midwestern Jewish Artists Laboratory, even pick-up basketball games, publications, health and fitness, social media, exhibits, celebrations, conversations in the gym, storytelling, dance, and it goes on and on and on. Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim Chaim. Thank you.
$525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments, oh dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife. In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year in the life? How about love?
Those words come from one of my favorite musicals, Rent. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee. Reminds me of a question that I'm always asked. So what is the JCC movement? How do you measure a movement? We measure the JCC movement in our shared vision and statement of principles that was adopted just 2 years ago in New Orleans. It was developed literally through 1,000 conversations across the movement, culminating in many of you signing on in New Orleans. And of course, we didn't plan that our new chair was in the front of the picture. It just happened. JCCs have evolved together, been resilient in responding to rapid changes in the Jewish world and the larger world, while continually reaffirming the core of our Jewish mission. We measure our movement in over 130,000 Jewish teens who we've touched in the 32 years of the JCC Maccabi Games and now Arts Fest. Their stories are sometimes known, like Lenny Kraselberg, who is with us, but some are not so known. Billy Osherol chaired the games last summer in Austin, Texas, and he's also one of our Esther Leo Ritz recipients. Billy, could you tell us how you might measure the JCC movement's impact?
Thank you, Alan. Can you have empty nest syndrome even if the kids aren't yours? I really miss my Phoenix basketball boys. Thank you for a wonderful first-time JCC Maccabi experience. My kids absolutely loved it and already told me they want to go next year. They never experienced being with so many Jewish kids at one time, and they found it to be an incredible experience. Going into the week, I had no idea what to expect. Stephen and Pima couldn't have been gifted a better invitation into the local and global Jewish community any other way. Eric. We often judge ourselves by our good intentions, but our local community, our customers, judge us by our actions. The chance to host the 2013 JCC Maccabi Games provided us in Austin with the platform, the action to energize and connect together in planning and executing the single largest event ever held within our Austin Jewish community. Hosting the games is a big, big deal. It's complicated and incredibly time-consuming. 304 incredible host families, over 1,000 fantastic volunteers, 1,000 teens and junior Maccabi athletes all believed it was worth the effort. And finally, from a visiting team from Philly, a note to our games director. The note was from January 27th, almost 6 months after our games concluded. Dear Mr. Weil, first of all, I would like to thank you for doing all that you did to host my favorite JCC Maccabi Games that I've ever been a part of. The opening ceremonies were great, and the part about the Israeli athletes who passed away in Munich was incredibly impactful. The whole process of the wristbands and standing to commemorate each person was a moment that truly made me proud to be Jewish and a Jewish athlete. I play sports with passion, and ever since that day, I've done my best to carry on the memory of Kahat Shor the way that he did during his time in the sports world. It really means a lot that you took the time to replace my lost wristband, and I will continue to carry along that memory of Kahat Shor, along with having the pride of being a Jewish athlete in my heart. Thanks again, David.
Thank you, Billy. Our movement can be measured in pure numbers. We all understand that. Each and every one of us should be incredibly proud of what we accomplished. A couple of examples. Just last year, 500 Midot medals were awarded to athletes and artists who lived one of 6 compassionate Jewish values. Over 40,000 people downloaded our new JCC app, and over 1,200 holiday packages went to deploy Jewish troops. The story continues. The 2012 London Olympics marked the 40th year that the families of the Munich 11 attempted to get that moment of silence in memory of the 1972 Israeli team. But something different happened. one of our 2013 JCC Maccabi Games hosts in Rockland, New York, started a petition that went viral. And while it didn't quite get that moment, Bob Costas responded with his own break in the narration. Our dear friend Anki Spitzer, whose husband Andre was the fencing coach in Munich, has to share her thanks with you for our steadfast commitment to remembering.
Thank you so much, Alan, for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. On behalf of the families, I would like to express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to you, to the JCC Association and the JCC movement. We thank you for your never-ending support and commitment to remember the Munich 11 who were so brutally murdered during the Olympic Games in 1972. The International Olympic Committee prefers to forget this tragedy, mainly because the victims were Jews and Israelis. And it has been so comforting to the families that every summer at the JCC Maccabi Games, they are remembered. Our relationship started with an idea of Lenny Zilberman of the JCC Association to remember the Munich 11 at every opening ceremony of the JCC Maccabi Games. That effort reached a peak in 2012, the 40th anniversary of Munich, through an online petition for a minute of silence by David Kerstel and the staff of JCC Rockland. Although there was not a formal minute of silence in London, there was no silence either. More than 100,000 people signed the petition, and many parliaments in the world observed a minute of silence in their memory, including the US Congress. We will continue our fight until justice has been done, and therefore I would like to ask all of you gathered in San Diego to please join with your JCCs and continue giving your support for our efforts at the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Thank you so very, very much for all you have done for the memory of our loved ones. Your support is crucial to us. We will keep reminding the world of what happened in Munich, so that this will never ever happen again. Because if you forget history, you are bound to repeat it. And those who forget the past will not have a future. Thank you.
No one else has done this so consistently. Only the JCC movement. We've committed to teach our kids to remember Munich long before the movie. We measure the impact of our movement when we help people build meaningful careers of service. We've been known for years for top-level professional development programs. Our 8th class of Marantine Fellows is here with us, as are our graduate scholars. This room is filled with alumni of various programs, all of which reflect a larger talent management strategy to funnel qualified people into senior positions. If you've participated in any of the following, please stand as I mention it. Marantine Professional Fellows. Please stand. Not just the current class, past classes too. JCC Graduate Scholars. Middle Management Training. Jewish Experiential Leadership Institute. And the Executive Development Training Program. It's quite a commentary on the commitment of this movement. Thank you. You can all be seated. Betsy Weinblatt Lynch, Executive Director of the Levite JCC in Birmingham, took her jelly experience seriously.
My soundbite about my experience in training at the Jewish Experiential Leadership Institute goes something like this. Jelly helped me evolve from being a leader who was Jewish into a Jewish leader. Jelly gave me the network, the resources, and the tools to tie the Jewish thread throughout all of the work that I do and to inspire the staff that I work with to do the same. As a product of my Jelly experience, I created the Bina Project. Bina is wisdom in Hebrew. The project is designed for women leadership. And the idea is it's not for emergent leaders, it's for women already sitting at the boardroom table to get them to move to executive levels of leadership. The goal of the project is to provide them with resources and networks to allow for Jewish learning through face-to-face sessions, but also a critical important piece is the web portal. So through weekly and daily video casts, podcasts, and online learning, they are connecting with each other Jewishly and learning to lead. I am so thankful and gracious to the JCC Association for the investment that they've made in me. It's impacted me professionally, personally, and it's now impacting the leadership of my community.
We encourage every JCC to similarly invest in its talent, both for local benefit, but also for the quality professionals that it provides for the entire movement. A real signature of the JCC movement is early childhood. We've been leading in the education of young Jews and their families for years. We're so proud of our new Sheva initiative, which set a record, being adopted by 60 JCCs in year one, and Discover Catch, our signature childhood health and nutrition program, now in 40 JCCs. Let's listen in on a recent Google Hangout of some Sheva participants.
There's something so magical that Sheva has brought to us about giving it such value that on every level we now have the permission to do so, the encouragement to do so, and it is fueling a fire under each of us at every level that is so inspiring and motivating that I feel that we're as excited about what's coming up as we are expectant. We have really some ideas about what we think will happen next, but we really are just ready for leaping and knowing that the net will emerge.
I was then able to meet with my ED and the board of directors and bring a new kind of, I'm going to say credibility, but a new understanding of the value of the work that is happening down here in the Child Development Center. The value of studying together is something that is now recognized throughout the JCC.
I like to weave things in and see like a big woven quilt of all our ideas. Whereas before I felt that I had the ideas, but the quilt was missing, if that makes any sense. So for me, it really just permeates everything I do, every conversation I have, every staff supervision opportunity, every training opportunity, every parent communication. It just seems to me like it's part of everything. It's like the golden fabric that weaves through everything and makes it shine.
And bringing it more alive, Jeannie Lovey from Boston is a passionate spokesperson for how we impact young children and families. Jeannie?
Hi, everybody. In Boston, Sheva is sort of a text that helps us go both up and down. It takes big ideas and makes them small enough to be used with preschool children in their classrooms, but also small ideas and makes them big. So it helps us think about each of these elements that you heard these directors talking about and how they apply to the work we're doing with children and families throughout the organization. So with the leadership of our executive team and also our incredible board of directors, Sheva doesn't just live in our preschools, it lives throughout our JCC. One small example is one of the Sheva elements is called Directors as Visionaries. And a lot of people would just sort of flip through the Sheva booklet and think, oh, that's nice, those are pretty words, directors are visionaries. But if you think about it, if you look at the Sheva booklet as text and you think of this in the model of text study, it forces us to think, what does that really mean? If we think our early childhood directors are visionaries, are we asking them the right questions? Are we listening to their answers? And are we challenging ourselves to think about what they know that can inform us on the family engagement side? So in Boston, we're actually reorganizing our early childhood department right now in line with the Sheva framework and elements, not because it's written specifically in the Sheva framework to do so, but because the conversations we've had about Sheva have inspired us to think, how can we make our values and vision more visible even in something like our organizational chart? Discover Catch is one really important element of Sheva. It has to do with obviously child health and child wellness. I think that Discover Catch also has built a really important bridge in Boston between the early childhood department and health and fitness department. These are maybe a relationship that was categorized before by we're going to go to gym class or we're going to take a swim class. But suddenly now we've made the conversation between two key departments at a JCC not just a nice thing to do, but necessary. So we have two departments collaborating around the meaning of what it means to be caring together about the wellness and health of the children that we take care of, and the children then, of course, are part of families and membership. So Discover Catch has been a really, really important transformative change for us in Boston. I guess I just would say that in Boston, Alan, Sheva has definitely moved us forward. It's the way we measure things within the Sheva framework forces us to go beyond tasks and programs and ideas and curriculum and these kinds of words to the big picture, to conversations and relationships and sort of those interactions that all of us in the JCC movement are trying to get at. So it's been very much a transformative change and a real pleasure to work with Sheva and Discover Catch.
Thanks, Jeannie. So a little audience participation. I want to ask a question. If you went to a Jewish overnight camp, please stand. And if you went to a Jewish overnight camp, please stand. Day camp. Sorry, how could I forget day camp? So I had no idea how many people would be standing, but take a look around this room. If there's any question about the impact of camp, here's the answer. Please be seated. So the good news is that the Foundation for Jewish Camp has really told the story of resident camp. But it's our responsibility in this room and everyone back in our communities to tell the story of JCC day camping and how important it is, and making sure that those camps are top quality environments and experiences for our kids. We know that we do it. We need to be proud of it. I want to acknowledge the partnership of J Camp 180 and the Harold Grinspoon Foundation as being the first to recognize and invest in our day camps, in addition to their longtime work with overnight camps. Our movement is also measured in responding to the current needs and trends. This year will see the opening of 2 new specialty incubators, JCC Maccabi Sports Camp in San Francisco and Camp Inc. in Boulder. Along with Passport NYC at the 92nd Street Y, the JCC movement has been awarded 3 of the 9 incubator grants made possible by the Foundation for Jewish Camp. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Jordan Adler, currently deployed on the USS Essex, serving as the Combat Information Systems Officer. Jordan?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for your support of our Jewish service members through the Jewish Welfare Board, the Jewish Chaplains Council. The care packages, the availability chaplains, other resources, and support allow us to bring Judaism forward to wherever we are, and for me personally, as a lay leader on 2 different warships, USS Benfold and USS Essex, has helped me out immensely. Though I'm not planning to get out just yet, my question is, what happens when I want to interact with a Jewish community as a veteran, and more importantly, where do our veterans turn to as they come home from service?
Jordan, JCCs across the country will be participating in Project Welcome Home, which is a new initiative of JWB and JCC Association. JCCs, we hope, will serve as the key re-entry portal into the Jewish community for returning veterans and their families, offering support, creating programming focused on engaging them, and acknowledging the great sacrifice that you and they made for us and for our nation. We hope that every JCC will join us in welcoming them home. And thank you for your service. And thanks to all of our military personnel who are here.
Thank you, sir.
We're also very proud to announce the publication of our new Siddur. I'm told to hold this up like Johnny Carson, this way, for those of you who are old enough to remember Johnny Carson. For the armed forces, this is the first in 30 years to accompany the Tanakh that we published a few years ago. Both will significantly enhance the connection of our Jewish Armed Services personnel wherever they may be. We were privileged to include a letter from President Obama, the first president since FDR to participate in this way in a Jewish prayer book. And by the way, it was used this Shabbat for the first time here at the Biennial. We also measure our movement through the JCC Israel Center in Jerusalem, which has proudly represented the JCC since 1973, which offers numerous programs and resources to JCCs in their connection with Israel. A recent article in E-Jewish Philanthropy expressed it so well. Brian Schreiber, what's Pittsburgh's story?
Thank you, Alan. I guess following the Rent theme, no day like today. Our goal was to combine the impact of Jewish camping with an immersive Israel leadership experience for our teen counselors in training, CITs, at the Pittsburgh JCC's Emma Kaufman camp. It has transformed our camp culture. The first cohort in 2006 of 2014s came back so energized, we made the Israel experience a standard, and the program doubled in size. Of over 300 CITs who have participated since 2006, 90% returned to staff the next year. 8 summers later, virtually every counselor, unit head, and specialist was a CIT. Along the way, the program's impact garnered major philanthropic support and federation support. Our success begins with the true partnership of the dedicated JCCA Israel office, who understands us and continues to refine the program. Leah Garber, the center's director, tells me that our kids are the best group she's ever had. But if you know Leah, she says that to every community. We are now looking to build more experiences through the Israel office, with families, with empty nesters, with Diller grads and Diller parents, and maybe even one day a CIT alumni experience. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Brian. Another very special thing happening at this biennial is the new Israel Engagement Handbook. And I want to thank personally Harriet and George Blank, who took the chairmanship of our Israel committee very seriously. This is truly a coffee table book, but I hope you do more than put it on your coffee table. It's a rich resource of how to do Israel programming and Israel connecting in JCC. I hope we'll all embrace it. And what really binds us together is our brand. There is truly something special about this place. The world has changed dramatically in the 10 years since we introduced our last brand platform in Montreal. And we've changed too. In every way, the JCC movement has evolved with the times and exemplified excellence, all without losing sight of our mission. And yet research shows we're not always getting it right and getting credit for the strides we've made in the eyes of the audiences we're trying to reach. The largest generation ever, the millennials, are forming households and having children. This is our core constituency of the future, and we can't afford not to connect with them. And we must start now. Our branding committee and staff conducted research and worked with professionals and lay leaders from 27 JCCs and camps to develop the brand that you're seeing around you here at the Biennial. It expresses our high standards and presents a flexible operation that meets each customer on his or her own terms. But most importantly, it presents the J in a clean, contemporary style for what we've always strived to be, a Jewish environment where our commitment to Jewish living transcends differences between us to create a positive atmosphere where anything can happen. It's a place where we can all live up to our goals, live up to our dreams, and live up to our aspirations, small or large. I encourage you to experience the new brand while you're here, to ask questions of our staff, to take it back with you to your communities. The more of us who adopt it, the greater the recognition of the commonality of JCCs and the breadth of the JCC movement. We are stronger together. I hope I've illustrated just a few examples of what it takes to make us a 21st century force in Jewish life. Before I close, let me answer one other question that I'm often asked as I travel to JCCs throughout the continent. So what might this movement look like in the future? I think the days of long-term prediction and 10-year strategies are far behind us. So let me share some thoughts about the JCC of 2020, just 6 years from now. I believe that our very vertical Jewish community must flatten out and become horizontal, making passage from one institution, program, congregation to another much more fluid. The walls that we've built, both literal and figurative, must come down. Access to multiple communities within the JCC and without the JCC, and I don't mean without, but outside of, will be much easier and inviting. I believe that our days of building mega buildings and additional infrastructure will give way to more JCC locations that may be short-lived as the community continues to move. They'll be more quickly developed in order to meet needs, but more portable than what we've known. Decision-making will and must be faster. We'll be much more risk-tolerant and quicker to initiate. JCCs will be close to 100% self-sufficiency, with sophisticated fundraising and a larger donor base. Our core businesses will likely be the same, reflecting excellence and the latest. We will become as well known for Discover at JCC, our new engagement and wellness strategy, as we are for early childhood and camp. And finally, we will realize the dream of a truly global Jewish people, hopefully with peace in Israel that allows full realization of its potential. Our JCCs will be a beacon of peoplehood and a new relationship to the people of Israel. So how do we measure a movement? By you, the people in this room who lead with passion, a sense of purpose, and a commitment to excellence. By continuing to build on the unique partnership of professionals and lay leaders. I, for one, am blessed by a board of true leaders representing your communities. And now it's my turn, Paula. You won't kill me. I want to thank Paula Sidman for her passionate leadership, her steadfast commitment to JCCs, and most important, for her friendship. And I wish my good friend Steve Seiden a wonderful term as our new chair. We measure our movement by our pride in each other and in the accomplishments of each and every JCC in our movement, not just our own. We measure our movement by knowing that we touch and impact Jews every day, and we change their lives and enhance their engagement with the beauty of Jewish life and community. And we measure a movement by the stories we proudly tell of people we touch, lives we change, and communities we build. The Pew study is a gift to us. We are already answering it. We need to more boldly let people know. All of us need to be more aggressive about telling those incredible stories of touching lives, building connections to multiple communities. And we measure a movement by taking our vision seriously, by convening open conversations about how we can change Jewish life to increase engagement, and that includes the tough, controversial issues. Let's not wait for others to set the course. We measure our movement by learning and celebrating together over the next few days and going back energized to better the Jewish world. My story began at a Jewish camp where I was thinking of the number. Bonnie and I met 50 years ago this year at camp. The camp's closed, but we're still together. It continued through the orchestra pit in several JCCs, and if you don't know what that means, come up and ask me. From the Midwest to the West to the East, to visiting so many of your communities. It's reflected in the lives of my own children and the successes of my JCC kids on Broadway, TV, and even the Olympics, and in the careers of so many of you. My dad shared a life philosophy with me that's driven me through my career. It reflects the internal rewards that we reap from our work. I want to close with a quote from Edwin Markham and my dad, in the hope that it helps all of us frame this incredibly important work that we do together. There is a destiny that makes us brothers. None goes his way alone. What we put into the lives of others comes back into our own. Thank you. And now, thank you. You've been hearing the voice from the table, but I asked for the privilege of introducing another 50-year friend. 50 years. Dr. Ronnie Wolfson, who I met in USY when we were freshmen in high school. He was in Omaha, I was in Minneapolis, and we've been friends ever since. And I just will mention that there was this triumvirate of the three of us. And the third was Scott Simon from Kansas City. And for those of you who remember Shana Na, Scott was Screaming Scott from Shana Na. So he was Shana Na, and here's the two Jewish professionals. What can I tell you? Ronnie.
You did great. I love this man. This man, Alan, has done more than any other executive of any Jewish organization in the entire world to move you forward in this fabulous JCC movement. Mazel tov, Alan. I'm just so honored to be your friend. Good morning, everybody. It's thrilling to be with you. May I also add my own mazel tov to Tom. Please send regards to your father, Mort. What he has done to support Jewish education is phenomenal, a great legacy. And mazel tov to my very dear friend, Jody Hirsch, the only Jewish educator who's a Via de Gamba player. Ask him about that. Fabulous career, Jody. Yeah, boy, I'm kind of thrilled and shocked to be here because I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, where I went to Hebrew school from 4 to 6 on Monday and Wednesday. Any of you do that, Monday and Wednesday? How about Tuesday, Thursday, 4 to 6? How about Sunday morning, 9 to 12, even if you weren't born Jewish? Okay, good. Did you have Mr. Friedman? I had this guy from the old country, Mr. Friedman. He knew nothing about teaching, but he had a good neshama, a good soul. So every afternoon we schlepped to the Hebrew school, and I was called Vildachaya, actually, in the Hebrew school. That means wild animal. Because I wanted to be home watching Annette Funicello on the Mickey Mouse Club. When he got upset, he yelled a word to me. It's the only Hebrew word I learned in 3 years with Mr. Friedman. Sheket. Sheket, sheket, sheket. That's all I heard. Now, all my stories are true. This is a true story. I went for my first bar mitzvah lesson. The man who was the tutor was also from the old country. He pinched my cheek at the first lesson, and he said, "Sonny, what's your name in Hebrew?" I said, "Sheket." Oh, my God. So that was my bad kid experience, but my great kid experience, Alan, was the Jewish day camp at the JCC in Omaha, Nebraska. I loved it. The counselors were great. It was wonderful fun, and we learned Jewish values. And at that day camp, I learned a song that has stayed with me forever, and it's on your handout. So if you're willing, let's sing. Hine ma tov manayim shevet achim. Oh, you know it, good. Hine ma tov manayim shevet achim gam ya. Now it goes up, or go la la. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim. Beautiful, beautiful. A quick text study. Hine means here or hey. Ma means what? Tov means good, a word I never heard in Hebrew school, not once. Uma and what or how. Naim is the word for pleasing. Shevet is the word for dwelling or being or living. Achim is the word for brothers, but let's be inclusive and say all of us. Look how good and how pleasing it is for all of us to be. Skip the word gam and go to yachad. Yachad means together. So how wonderful, good, pleasing it is for us all to be together, especially here in San Diego at this great convention. The word gam looks to be extra. You don't need it, but there must be a reason because there's nothing extra in the Torah. So I'll suggest something at the end of our time together. It is great to be together, and I came here to say one thing to you. It's all about relationships. Everything we do in the JCC is about relationships. And the most important relationship in my life, I met in youth group 2. Her name is Susie Kukafka Wolfson. Please give her a warm welcome. She's right here. And I learned the power of relationships from Susie's dad, my father-in-law, Abe Kukafka. We're going to show you a picture of him. A Polish Holocaust survivor. He's here with his granddaughter, Javi. When he first stepped into the great JCC in Omaha, Nebraska, he was 65 years old. He had retired from a demanding factory job in Omaha, and when he did, Susie and I bought him a membership in the JCC Health Club. He knew nobody. He spoke with a thick accent that embarrassed him. He had never exercised a day in his life, but on that first day in the locker room, a guy named Boggy, Isidore Bogdanov, welcomed Abe to the club, helped him get a locker, and introduced him to a bunch of his friends. After their workouts, after the schwitz in the steam room, after their showers, Boggy invited Abe to have coffee with 12 guys who every day gathered around a table in the foyer above the indoor swimming pool at the J. They called it the round table. They chatted about their workouts, their businesses, their families, and their lives. They told their stories to each other, and they heard each other's stories. And they built relationships. They cared about each other and for each other. Abe thrived at the J. He took every exercise class. He worked out regularly. He ran 5K races, beating guys half his age. He became so well known, especially with the big shots, the machers in the whirlpool, he started to collect money. And we're going to show you this picture for Christmas and Hanukkah gifts for the staff. Look what it says. Help show your appreciation for the JCC staff. Some of these big wealthy guys in Omaha would give him $5. Abe would throw it back at him and say, you can afford more. Over the years, Abe earned the #1 locker in the health club. Everybody loved that man. The members, the staff, he was an inspiration, a legend. When he was 85, he had his first open heart surgery, and the guys at the club were there for him. 10 years later, the valve became infected, and we thought that was the end. But Abe said no. He wanted to live. He didn't want to die. So he took him to the Mayo Clinic, and he was in such great shape, a world-famous surgeon said, I will do a second open heart surgery on you at the age of 95. But first, we have to clear up the infection in your heart. It took 3 weeks. You know what Abe did in those 3 weeks? He bought himself a new car. And he insisted on a 10-year warranty. And when we took him back to the Mayo Clinic for the heart surgery, he says to the world-famous heart surgeon, I want the same deal on my new heart valve. Oh, my God. It's all about relationships, not programs or logos or brochures or marketing, as important as that is. The heart of the JCC movement is the word community. And the heart of a community is a network of relationships that give each member much more than nice facilities and a calendar of programs. There's nothing wrong with programs, but if nothing happens in those programs to deepen the connections between the staff and the people, between the people themselves, and between the people in Judaism itself, then what's the point? Let's be honest. Why should I join a JCC today when I have so many other options? Need a preschool? There are plenty in my town. A health club? I can go to 24-hour fitness, well-equipped, 24/7. A Judaica library? With a click of a mouse, I can get any Jewish information I want. Here's another challenge. So many people have a transactional relationship with us. I'll pay you dues, and you give me access to programs and facilities. But what happens when I don't need the programs or the facilities any longer? If all we have is a fee-for-service relationship, I drop out, I move on. We gain 50 members, we lose 50 members. It's a revolving door. So what must be the value proposition of the JCC in the 21st century? Has to be something more, something deeper. Face-to-face relationships with the staff, with each other, and with the Jewish experience itself. That's the business we're in, to build connections with yourself, with you, with the J, to make a difference in people's lives. Will you, if I belong to your JCC, make a difference in my life? Will you strengthen my family, whatever its structure? Will you connect me to a group of friends who will be there for me in good times and bad? Will you connect me to the breadth and depth of Jewish living and learning? Will you connect me to a palpable sense of community and Jewish peoplehood? Will you connect me deeply to the state of Israel? Will you connect me to opportunities to repair the world, tikkun olam? And will you be a place, JCC, where every human being is welcomed and treated as the image of God they were created to be, not simply a name on a membership roster? The paradigm shift from transactional organizations to relational places begins with a culture of welcome we create in our places. My interview with Alan for my book, Relational Judaism, he reported to me that your JCCs are beginning to train your staff members not to ignore the guests and the members as they walk down the hall, but to engage them in conversation. That's great. But we have a long way to go and much deeper than that. We need to get to know our people beyond what we typically ask of them, which is a demographic form. Arnie told me he did a question with you guys. The Sunday question is, what do you know about your members? Basic demographics, 84%. Information about their passions, 6%. Do we know their personal stories? 9%. Demographic forms are not enough. My favorite story about a demographic form comes from our daughter, Javi. She was with Abe. You know about J-Date? You heard about it last night. You had the J-Date guy here. How many of you know J-Date? You all know it? Javi was going on J-Date when she moved back to Los Angeles, 6 J-Dates a night at Starbucks. She would come home bouncing off the walls from the caffeine. One night she comes home and she says, Mom, Dad, I met him. He's perfect on paper. I said, what means perfect on paper? She said, well, he's 32, she was 28. He's tall, he's handsome. He goes to the synagogue. He belongs to a JCC. His J-Date profile, he has his arm around his bubby. And he's a dentist. Wow. And he took one look at our daughter, Javi. You see, she's a lovely young woman. And he said, forget coffee. We're going to dinner. In the J-Date world, this is known as an instant upgrade. Now they go to dinner and they start dating, and it's magical. And they're dating for 3 months and 6 months and 8 months and a year and a half. And we're old school. We're thinking maybe he'll come ask for our blessing. No. They keep dating. In the middle of all this, my university, American Jewish University, changes its dental plan. And I tell the guy at Shabbat dinner one night, and he says to me, come to me. I'm all over that. I go to him. He's pretty good. He charges the family rate. And then I come home and I say to Susie, you must go to this dentist. And she looks at me and says, no way. I don't want his hands in my, no, Ronnie, I can't do it. I said, honey, he could be our son-in-law. You must go. I'll never forget what Susie said when she got into the car for her first visit to the dentist. Good thing he's not a gynecologist. Is that like the funniest thing you ever heard? Then she comes back with a better story. I said, how'd it go? She said, well, they gave me a clipboard. You've been to a doctor or dentist. You get a clipboard with a demographic form to fill out, right? So I said, yeah. So she said, well, in his form, the first line was name. So I wrote in Susan Wolfson. And the second line was, name I prefer to be called. She wrote in Mom. He never noticed. Because like most JCCs, he never read the demographic form. Oh my God. And people ask me what happened. Well, they called from Maui, they got engaged, they never told us, they just did it. And it went downhill from there. And 6 weeks before the wedding, Javi saved her life and called off the wedding. But she met a great guy named Dave, works for a small internet company called Google. Have you heard of it? And they've given us 2 beautiful grandchildren. Ellie Brooklyn is our 3-year-old, and our 1-year-old, Gabriel Elijah, is a proud member of the early childhood program at the JCC of Palo Alto. Thank you, Zach Bodner. Well, we can do better than demographic forms. We can encourage our people to meet each other in new ways. We can hear their stories more than we do. We can understand that they are, in fact, the core of our centers. So in the book, I reviewed 12 principles of relational engagement. I'd like to do that with you now. So if you turn over your page, we'll do this quickly, and you'll get an idea of what I think the challenges are for the JCCs in the future. It's on the opposite side of Hine Matov Manayim. Here's the first principle of relational engagement: personal encounter. We've got to teach our staff and our lay leadership to greet your members as they come in for a program. How many of you in this room met me at the front door of the ballroom today? My friends, that's on purpose. I don't think we should have a JCC in North America or in the world where people walk in and they're not warmly greeted, not just by the security guy, not just by your front desk person, but every single person who walks down those halls ought to be willing and able to say, hi, welcome. I went to the Disney University seminar on quality service, and the minute I walked towards the ballroom at the Dolphin Hotel, I knew I was in the right place. Because guess who was there at the front door to greet me? Not Mickey Mouse. And not Walt Disney. He's been dead a while. The 2 trainers I was working with for 4 days were there to say hi. That's the beginning of a warm ambiance of welcome. You can build in relational moments in your programs. And you should have Starbucks quality coffee in your cafes. Because if you don't, they're going to go to Starbucks and bring it in. And you should have clever names for your Starbucks cafe and your JCC. Here are 3. Java Nagila, I like that. How about Holy Grounds? That's very good. I know one synagogue calls their cafe Mi Kamoka. I think that's very good. Here's the second principle of relational engagement. Tell our stories to each other, but more importantly, hear our stories. Hear the stories of our people. find ways to really sit down with them over a cup of coffee or over a frozen yogurt, or in some way to meet our people and hear their stories. Our byword is Shema Yisrael. Listen. Number 3, learning and doing together. We're pretty good at this. When we host the Maccabi Games, when we offer opportunities for Jewish study and celebration, we do so with the intention of building connections among the participants. Number 4, connect new people to each other. As soon as they join the JCC, the goal is to connect every new member to 5 to 7 friends in the J. Close friends, guys like those guys who were friends with Abe at the round table, or the parents of your preschool kids. They are a natural affinity group, or your seniors. Build small groups in your J around those affinities and encourage them to spend time to get to know each other. And once they get to know each other, they'll feel more connected, and they will be willing and able to support the place financially. One of my case studies in the book is from fundraisers. Every fundraiser knows you have to be a friend raiser first. Connection comes before commitment. Number 5, experiences. Every experience we offer must have cognitive content, what people will learn, affective feeling, what people will feel, and social connectedness, what will connect people to each other and the community. Number 6 is volunteerism. I don't know about you, but it's tough to get people to volunteer today. Because if you volunteer for a committee at the J, you will be made the chairman immediately. And it will be a life sentence. You will never get off this committee. But you know what? If you know your people's passions, if you know their talents, if you know their gifts, and you ask them to contribute to the building of your J community, short-term projects are the way to go. And once they are successful volunteering, you can call on them again. Number 7, following up. Frankly, we do a terrible job following up with our people. We don't track our interactions. We don't communicate with them after a personal encounter. Oh, we might send them an email blast, but who reads them? On my last birthday, I received 4 handwritten cards. One was from Susie with chocolate cake in bed. That's a tradition in our family, a birthday card. I got one in the snail mail from our daughter Javi and her family. I got one from our son Michael, lives in Portland, Oregon, is very active at the J there. He sent a card in the snail mail. My 4th card for my birthday, I got 426 Facebook happy birthday greetings. I got one more card in the mail from Valerie, my Chase Bank teller. No kidding. It read like this: Dear Mr. Wolfson, happy birthday. I hope you have a wonderful day. When you were in the branch last, you mentioned you were visiting your grandchildren for your birthday. Next time, bring them down to Los Angeles so we can meet them. Again, have a wonderful day. Sincerely, Valerie, your Chase Bank teller. Now, if we can get a card like that, if I can get a card like that from Valerie, if Chase Bank is teaching their people to build relationships and get to know their people, some people only want a transaction at the bank, but I loved it. We can do a better job in following up with our people. Number 8, transition points. We don't help our members go from one part of the J to the next part of the J. I wrote this book, Relational Judaism, during the Summer Olympics in London. The United States women's track team had lost the gold medal in the previous 2 Olympics. You know why? They're the fastest women in the world, but they couldn't pass the baton. They kept dropping the baton. So what do? How do we pass along those preschool parents to more involvement in the J? How do we get those guys in the health club to take advantage of all the learning opportunities we have? How do we avoid the silos in our buildings? Our staff barely know each other, much less know what each department is doing. Where's the concierge in the JCC? the membership director, better the relationship director, who knows everyone well, knows their stories, knows their interests and their passions, and can connect them to those things. Number 9, re-engagement. It's tougher and more expensive to re-engage people once we have them. Once they've dropped out, it's tough to get them back. But we have to begin building the deeper connections with them from the very beginning of their relationship with us, and then we won't have to worry about retention. Number 10, relational space. Is there a great place to hang out at your J? Many of you do. If I visit your campus, and I hope you'll invite me someday, will I be able to find your office without asking someone? The signage in our buildings, by and large, is terrible. And if the first feeling someone has when they walk into your JCC building is being lost, we're in trouble. That's basic customer service. Number 11, relationship membership models. There's a lot of talk in the community about this dues model that we have in the JCCs and in synagogues. Pay first, and then maybe we'll pay attention to you. There's one group in North America and the world that's growing faster than any other group, and I'll just mention them briefly. You know them, Chabad. These Chabad guys are going crazy. I went to their convention 3 years ago. 4,500 rabbis serving all over the world, 1,500 lay people. It was at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. I was invited by Rabbi Hershey Novak from the Washington University campus, Chabad, and I'm late. I'm stuck in a car. I can't get to the event. So I call Hershey on his cell phone. I say, Rabbi, I'm going to be late. What do I do? He says, no worries, Ron. I will come out to the curb to meet you. But I said, Hershey, how am I going to know it's you? You know what he said to me? I'm the guy in the black hat and the beard. And he did come out. And he had my credentials, and he whisked me through security, and I met all the top guys in Chabad, and I learned their #1 secret. You meet a Chabad rabbi in 5 minutes, you're invited to his home for Shabbat dinner or lunch. 5 minutes, you're invited to sit and study Torah. They raised more than $1 billion a year from people like you and me, not from Orthodox Jews, but people who are grateful for the relationship, the personal relationship they have with this guy and his family. And that's the kind of relationships we should be building in our JCCs. Number 12. This brings me to relational leadership. You are blessed with extraordinary leadership in this movement. You have superb professionals both in the JCCA Continental Office and in your local centers. You take seriously the idea of benchmarking. I'm proud to have extensive quotes in my book from not only Alan but Andy Paller, detailing the progress you've made in improving your institutions, your net promoter scores, the willingness of someone to recommend the J to someone else. We're doing very well, but there's so much more to do. This paradigm shift from transactional and programmatic to relational will only happen if we are literally on the same page together. That's why I'm thrilled many boards and staff are reading this book and studying it together. There are dozens and dozens of examples of not just best practices, but best principles upon which you can build a relational community of connections. That's why I was honored this year to be invited to work with the fantastic teams at the Palo Alto JCC and the St. Louis JCC. It was the highlight of my year. I encourage you to get the book. I encourage you to study it. I'm thrilled that Jewish Lights Publishing is offering even deep discounts on multiple copies for your people. They beat Amazon's price. Go get it. You know, ever since the Pew study came out, Alan, my dear friend Alan, all anybody wants to do is talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I want us to do something about it. I want us to do something in the JCC movement because you have the most extraordinary opportunity to engage the fastest growing group of people in American Jewish life, North American Jewish life, those who are Jews who are proud to be Jewish, but they're not affiliated with any organization in the Jewish community. So you know what I say to you? Let's go get them. Let's go get them. Let's invite them into a relational community that offers much more than great programs and great facilities. Let's build connections with them and among them with a Judaism that offers a path to meaning and purpose, belonging and blessing. That's recruitment. Let's deepen our relationships with the members we already have. That's engagement. And if we do that well, we'll have no trouble keeping people members for their entire lives. Maybe they'll reach 100 years old. Abe lived to 100. And on the day he died, it was in his favorite place on earth. You won't believe this, but it's true. The Schwitz in the JCC Health Club. 100 years old, his favorite place on earth. So let's go home from this great conference, inspired to transform our Jewish community centers into great centers of Jewish community. Listen, I'm proud to be a Jewish educator, along with my dear friend Jody. So permit me to conclude with a moment of Jewish spirituality. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hey, look how really good and how really pleasing it is for all of us to be together. Yachad. But you don't need this word gam. It's extraneous. But every word in the Torah, this is from the Psalms, has a meaning. So the book of Zohar has already been quoted today, and I will quote it again. In the book of the Zohar, we are offered an answer for why the word gam is in this psalm. The Zohar says gam is to indicate that when we are in relationship with another human being made in the image of God, God herself, the Shekhinah, is present. And not only is it pleasing to us to be together, it is pleasing to God that we are together in relationship. So let's do a California thing. You're here from you're all here in California. Would you all stand up and put your arms around somebody and we'll sing one more time? Come on, JCC. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam ya. Wonderful. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam ya. Now look at each other. Hine ma tovu, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam ya. Now raise the roof louder. Hine ma tovum naim, shevet achim gam ya. Hine ma tovum naim, shevet achim gam ya. Now kiss and hug someone next to you.
It's so wonderful that after a plenary session, everyone in the room is smiling. It's amazing. Thank you so much. That was an awesome presentation. It was entertaining, thought-provoking, informative, and I don't know about you, but I'm not even on our board anymore at our Stanford JCC, and I have a list of things that I'm going to be bringing home. This will definitely help us go back to our JCCs to continue to do the work we do, and it will take us to the next level. And Ron, you promised the best J-Date story ever, and I think you're right. And I'm going to send this link to Greg Lieberman so that he can see it and relay it in his presentations. It was wonderful.